The wind of the steep cut sharp as a knife, rattling the shutters of the small wooden iceberg. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of smoke and unspoken desperation. Anya Morozova stood near the stove, her hands folded tight in front of her apron, listening to the men in the next room speak in low, clipped tones. Her father's voice carried the weary tremor of a man with no good choice left. Yakov, I cannot pay the taxes this season. The Tsar's collector has already taken the last of my grain. If I do not drive you something, the state will seize the land. The man he spoke to, Yakov Kardin, known in whispers as a horror thief and brigand, leaned back on the bench, his sheepskin coat stiff with dirt and frost. You have nothing worth my trouble, old man, except that pretty daughter of yours. Anya's heart froze in her chest. You will have her as wife, Yakov continued, his voice smooth but dangerous, and I will see to it your debt is forgotten. Her father did not answer at first. The silence was louder than the wind howling outside. Anya wanted him to say no, to curse Yakov and send him from their home. But instead, he said a long, broken sound, and she said, it is agreed. When they called her into the room, the lamplight caught the sharp angles of Yakov's face. His eyes were the color of dirty ice, and they looked at her as if he were already a possession. You will pack your things, he said. We ride at dawn. Anya's father would not meet her eyes. He searched his face for even a trace of shame or regret, but found only exhaustion. He wanted to cry, to shout, to run, but her feet felt nailed to the floor. Yakov rose, towering over her, his boots heavy on the wooden planks. You'll learn to keep house in the hills. And keep quiet. The wind rattled the walls again, as to the steep each leaf was warning her. Outside, night fell over the endless snow, and Anya knew that come morning, her life would no longer be her own. The morning came pale and bitter, the sun awoke a coin behind a veil of frost. Anya stood in the yard, her small bundle of belongings clutched against her chest. Yakov had arrived before first light, his horse steaming in the cold, a second morsel for her. Without a word, he took a strip of leather from his belt and bound her wrists. So you don't get clever, he muttered, tightening the knot until the blood prickled in her hands. They rode out across the open steppe, the wind cutting into her face like glass. The land was endless, white snow stretching to the horizon, broken only by black pines in the far distance. She had never been beyond the boundaries of her father's land, now every hoofbeat carried her farther into the unknown. Yakov kept his eyes forward, his jaw set, but he could feel his presence like a shadow over her shoulder. At times, he would turn to glance at her, not speaking, yet making it clear that her fate was now tied to his will alone. By midday, they stopped near a frozen river to water the horses. Yakov cut a hole in the ice with his knife, the sound of steel on frozen water echoing through the still air. He offered her no food, only a brief moment to drink from her cupped hands before they mounted again. The sun sank lower, and the cold deepened. Anya's thoughts wandered to her father, who had not even come to see her off, to the little garden he had tended each spring, to the hope that someone, unknown, might cross their path before it was too late. As the day bailed into twilight, they reached a narrow valley between dark hills. Shadows closed in, and the snow muffled every sound but the creak of litter and the slow breath of the horses. Yakov's voice broke the silence at last. Tomorrow, we ride into the taiga. No one will find you. There was a promise in his tone, but not one of safety. Anya shivered, not from the cold, but from the weight of those words. That night, they camped beneath crooked pines. Yakov built a small fire, the flames casting long, warped shadows across the snow. Somewhere in the distance, a wolf howled, and Anya wondered if the wild beasts beyond the firelight were any worse than the man sitting across from her. By the second afternoon, the sky hung low and heavy, the color of lead. The horse bird steamed in thick clouds as they climbed through a narrow gorge, its walls of black stone streaked with ice. The air grew still, unnaturally still. Even the wind seemed to be holding its breath. Anya noticed it first, faint vibrations through the Mars hooves, a rhythm different from their own pace. As each turned her head, straining to listen, but Yakov only barked, eyes forward. Then they appeared. From behind a curve in the gorge, a band of mounted men emerged, their fair line coats blending with the snowy hills. They were bare horsemen, the king of Ator used to speak of in half worry, half respectful tones. At their head rode a tall man on a black stallion, a bow slung across his back, his eyes sharp and unreadable. Yakov cursed under his breath and reached for the rifle slung at his saddle. The leader raised a gloved hand, and the rest of his riders fanned out in a crescent, cutting off every path forward and back. The horses moved with the precision of a hunting wolf pack. This man, the leader said in Russian touched with the soft lilt of the steppe, has crossed into our lands and stolen what is not his. His gas moved to Anya's bound wrists, and he takes women against their will. This is my wife, Yakov snapped. None of your concern. The leader's eyes did not waver. Yuli, two of the horsemen slid from their saddles with the grace of hunters, closing the distance in a heartbeat. Yakov's hand twitched toward his rifle, but before the barrel could rise, one rider struck it away with the shaft of his spear. The other wrenched Yakov from the saddle, slamming him into the snow. Anya's heart hammered. As she sat frozen, you naive these strangers meant to help her take her for themselves. The leader guided his horse closer until he was at her side. He leaned down, cutting the letter bending with a swift motion. You are free now, he said, his voice steady but keen. If you wish to ride with us, you will be safe. Anya hesitated only a moment before swinging down from her mark. Yakov was already being dragged away, his tears fading into the aching gorge. For the first time in days, her eyes touched from freedom, not restraint. That night, the bear riders camped in a sheltered hollow where the snow lay thin under the pines. The fire crackled low, sending thin ribbons of smoke into the freezing air. Anya sat wrapped in a heavy fur cloak one of the riders had given her, the smell of horse and wood smoke clinging to it. Her eyes were free,